Hello everyone, this is Nyla. Welcome to my channel, Nyla's Crossdressing Story. Please subscribe to my channel to listen to beautiful crossdressing stories and join my Patreon for exclusive stories. I can still remember the first time I tried on my sister's panties. I was all of 10 years old and I had walked home from school in the pouring rain and was soaked through. When I walked in the door, my mother immediately stripped me of my clothes and told me, "Ryan, I want you upstairs in a hot bath, now." I knew better than to argue with my mother and I was soon lying in a hot bath. When the water started to get a bit cold, I climbed out of the bath and realized there were no towels on the towel rail. "Mom!" I yelled, "There's no towels in here, what do I do?" "Just a minute, Ryan," my mother yelled back. "I did the wash today and I'll get you a towel. Just hold your horses." A minute later my mother was knocking at the bathroom door and I hid myself behind the door as I opened the door. "Here," my mother said as she shoved the towel at me. "Now don't take too long, your tea's almost ready," my mother said as I locked the door again. The towel must have come out of the dryer as it was warm and fluffy. It was also full of static as the hair on my arm stood up. Yes, as you've probably already guessed, my sister's panties were also stuck to the towel. This had happened before and usually I would have just pulled them off the towel and thrown them on the floor. This time though, I decided to try them on. Why, I'll never know. I guess I was just curious as to why my sister's underwear was so different to mine. As Susan, my sister, was 16, she had some pretty things compared to my boy things. As I slipped the panties up my legs, I was too young and naive to know that what I was doing was considered sick by some people. All I was doing was giving in to my curiosity. After I had the panties on, I grabbed my dressing gown, put it on, and headed downstairs. After tea, I headed upstairs to play some computer games. I became so engrossed in the games that I never even realized the time, until my father came in and said, "Ryan, I think you'd better turn that off. It's late and you've got school tomorrow." "Just a couple more minutes," I pleaded. "Oh, all right," Dad replied, "but when I come up here again 15 minutes you'd better be in bed." "Thanks, Dad," I said as he left the room. 10 minutes later I was in bed and when Dad came back, he pokes his head in the door and said, "See you in the morning, Ryan." When I woke up the following morning, I realized that I was still wearing my sister's panties. They had been so comfortable that I had completely forgotten that I was wearing them. I then put my dressing gown on and went into the bathroom to wash myself. It was only seconds after I locked the door that I heard my sister yelling out, "Hurry up, you little freak, or you'll make me late." Although my sister called me a freak, I knew she really liked me. It was just her way. Slipping off her panties, I quickly washed myself and then rushed to the door to open it. In my eagerness to get out of the bathroom, I had forgotten the panties. 20 minutes later, Susan had finished in the bathroom, and we were both sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast. The smell of toast and scrambled eggs filled the room as I quietly sipped my orange juice, trying to act as normal as possible. Susan, on the other hand, was focused on her plate, occasionally glancing at me like she could sense something was off. Mom was upstairs taking her turn in the bathroom, and for a few peaceful moments, I thought I had gotten away with everything. But then I heard her footsteps coming down the stairs, quick and purposeful. I barely had time to react before she entered the kitchen, and I froze the moment I saw what she was holding in her hand, Susan's panties. Mom's expression was sharp as she turned straight to my sister. "Susan, how many times do I have to ask you to take all of your clothes out of the bathroom?" she demanded, holding the panties up for emphasis. Susan's head shot up in confusion. "But, Mom," she started to protest, but Mom cut her off before she could finish. "No more buts, Susan. If I find any more of your clothes in the bathroom, you'll be grounded. Do you understand?" Susan let out an exasperated sigh and pushed her fork against her eggs. Yes, Mum, she muttered. That was when I made my mistake. A small chuckle escaped me, just a little one, but enough for Susan to hear. She immediately turned to glare at me, her eyes narrowing. I quickly tried to cover it up by stuffing a piece of toast in my mouth, but it was too late. Susan had locked onto me like a predator. She waited until Mum left the room before leaning in slightly, her voice low and accusing. I don't suppose you know how my panties got there, do you? I felt my stomach drop. My mind raced for an answer, something, anything, but the words just wouldn't come. Instead, I sat there, caught in her gaze, my face growing warmer by the second. Susan smirked, tilting her head. You're acting weird, Ryan, she said slowly. Really weird. I swallowed hard, trying to play it cool. I don't know what you're talking about, I mumbled, taking another bite of toast to avoid looking at her. But she wasn't letting it go that easily. Susan leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms as a knowing grin spread across her face. We'll see about that. And just like that, breakfast suddenly felt a whole lot less comfortable. As I continued to laugh, I just looked at her and said, how would I know? Susan then stood up and stomped out of the room. Although I felt a little bit guilty about getting Susan in trouble, I just loved the look on her face when she got in trouble. After I finished my breakfast, I went upstairs, got dressed, and headed off to school. On the way, I realized that my underwear was itching me. I thought back to how soft my sister's panties had been. The memory lingered in my mind, making me shift uncomfortably as I walked. Later that day, the itch became unbearable. I found myself constantly trying to relieve it by scratching, but nothing seemed to help. It was distracting, making it hard to concentrate in class. At last, recess came, and I rushed to the toilets. I went into a cubicle and quickly pulled down my pants and underwear. What I saw scared me senseless, my skin was red and sore. Every touch sent a sharp sting through me. My breath quickened, panic settling deep in my stomach. I was only 10, and I didn't understand what was happening to me. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I started to cry. The fear of something being wrong, the discomfort, and the thought of someone finding out all overwhelmed me at once. I sat there, frozen, unsure of what to do. The recess bell rang, signaling the end of the break, but I stayed in the cubicle. I couldn't face anyone like this. 10 minutes passed, and I heard footsteps enter the bathroom. A voice followed, firm yet concerned. Ryan? Are you in here? It was the principal, Mr. Warner. I held my breath, hoping he would go away. But then, he must have heard me sniffling. Knock. Knock. Ryan, are you okay? He asked gently. I swallowed hard, wiping my face quickly, but I knew there was no escaping this now. He wasn't going to leave until I answered. Royan Agencia, is that you in there? Mr. Warner asked, his voice firm but not unkind. Thinking I would get in trouble if I didn't answer, I squeaked, yes, sir. Can we expect you to come out of there any time soon, Ryan? He asked again. Yes, sir, I responded, hurriedly pulling up my undies and pants before unlocking the cubicle door. As I stepped forward, a sharp, burning pain shot through my lower body, and I let out a strangled gasp. The moment I put weight on my legs, the pain intensified, and before I knew it, I collapsed onto the floor, writhing in agony. Mr. Warner's eyes widened in alarm. Ryan. What's wrong? He asked, stepping closer. I couldn't answer. The pain was unbearable, and my breath came in short, panicked bursts. Tears stung my eyes as I clutched my stomach, trying desperately to find some relief. Not knowing what was happening, Mr. Warner quickly turned toward the bathroom entrance and called out, somebody get the school nurse. Now. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed through the hallway as students and teachers gathered outside, wondering what was happening. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the growing chaos around me, but all I could focus on was the pain and the sinking feeling that something was seriously wrong. 2 hours later, I found out that I had an allergic reaction to my underwear. It was something to do with the material or something, but the end result was clear. I would be forced to wear underwear like my sisters until the doctors could get rid of the rash. When Susan found out, she couldn't control herself. She burst into laughter, clutching her stomach. I'll finally have a little sister instead of a freak of a brother. Should we call you Mona or something other than Ryan, little girl, she teased. That will be enough from you, Susan. Mom snapped. Ryan doesn't need your stupid teasing. Now get out of here until you have something nice to say. Susan pouted but stomped off, still giggling under her breath. I sighed, knowing this was going to be a long couple of weeks. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel and join my Patreon for more interesting and exclusive stories. Link in the description.